Hello, we are Team B, and we'll be presenting about our choice of company, Pinterest. Based in San Francisco, Pinterest is an image sharing and social networking service who holds a reputation for being the nicest company in Silicon Valley. Pinterest employees, also known as Pinployees, heavily emphasize on a work culture of being warm and respectful. However, this niceness resulted in slow decision-making and stagnating growth. Employees have also filed lawsuits against the company for alleged gender and racial workplace discrimination, as well as creating a hostile work environment. To combat these issues, Pinterest has since hired external lawyers to carry out investigations. One ideal practice that Pinterest has is the friendly and open work environment, which models its functionality about a relationship culture. Pinterest has also created office spaces and designs to accommodate people of various backgrounds and working styles, thereby fostering an inclusive environment and allowing employees to feel more comfortable at their workplace. However, this has led to two issues, namely decelerated decisiveness and a lack of diversity. Firstly, the friendly working environment has caused employees to withhold negative feedback, and this led to a reluctance in decision-making as they fear upsetting fellow employees. Despite internal campaigns to encourage being upfront, the core intent of these campaigns were not translated well, as employees were told by their managers to choose their words carefully. Additionally, the extent of this decelerated decisiveness has even imposed CEO Ben Silverman to send a company-wide email urging employees to make decisions quickly and to take more ownership. Secondly, despite promoting to build a more inclusive company, issues such as inappropriate comments made by managers and unequal pay and leveling for women and people of color has led to Pinterest being called out and sued by former employees who face gender and racial discrimination. In addition, former COO Francois Brugger had her work stolen without giving credit, was uninvited to board meetings, and was fired when she spoke up about the internal issues of gender biases against women because she was not being collaborative. With such reports, this has shown light into the internal culture of Pinterest, which appears to be different from their claims. As this form of discrimination threatens the diversity and inclusion, or D&I in short, in the Pinterest workplace, this will lead to a toxic culture for employees who will not feel a sense of belonging, but yet feel alienated from their superiors.
Now we're talking about the analysis of Pinterest's organizational culture practice of communication from collectivism. The culture in Pinterest is widely known as the nicest in the Silicon Valley, as it encourages harmonious interpersonal relationships. However, under this facade lies its own set of issues. This includes diversity disputes and excessive focus on friendliness, which damages operational efficiency. Hence, it is essential for Pinterest to understand the sheer magnitude of this problem and get to the bottom of it quickly. Pinterest's head office features an open concept with physical artifacts such as dividerless workspaces and meeting rooms with transparent walls. These artifacts are built all in the name of promoting idea sharing. Yet, they have proven ineffective due to Pinterest's overriding values and norms. Pinterest emphasizes the collectivist relationship culture of being Pinterestly, which means being amicable and functioning as cohesive units. In contradiction, employees are extremely mindful of their words. For example, they often show support for each other's ideas during meetings, only to send an email afterwards, suggesting improvements. Consequently, Pinterest's friendly environment has spread the ramifications of inefficient communication. Attempting to address the issue, Pinterest launched an internal ad campaign in 2016, encouraging employees to be more straightforward with one another and engaging in creative conflict. Still, employees found it unrewarding to be upfront about their opinions. Hence, they are trapped in a constant passive-aggressive conflict resolution and control culture, finding it difficult to accommodate a new shared value. They are constantly encouraged to speak up and take ownership, but are harshly dealt with upon committing any errors. This constant fear of providing constructive criticism and potentially obstructing group harmony has restricted ideological diversity. This has dragged Pinterest into a vicious cycle of failed communication.
To tackle the lack of diversity in the workforce, Pinterest appointed a head of D&I in 2019, responsible for upkeeping D&I within the company by creating events where employees of all cultures can learn new skills from one another, such as K-pop dancing, drag makeup, and calligraphy. However, this is only effective in instilling surface-level diversity and not deep-level diversity, as proven by the accusations against Pinterest about the lack of inclusion of women and people of color by former employees Ozoma and Bex, who were unable to get fair pay due to their skin color and gender, and hence left the company in May 2020. 2 months later, former COO Francois Brugger sued Pinterest for gender discrimination against females. Following these accusations, Pinterest appointed their first Black woman board member and started hiring more people of color. Here is the diversity report of employees in 2020, showing that majority of the company is still white, but other races such as Asians are not far behind. A commendable improvement, but they are still far from done. With minority groups such as Blacks being nearly 4%, even though these are measures that will help to improve D&I within the company, it gives the impression that Pinterest is only doing so due to them being under the spotlight after the highly publicized accusations. Furthermore, if diversity is improved in numbers, but the mindset of existing employees remain the same, minority employees would still face discrimination and be excluded from the workplace, the main problem in the first place. Hence, these methods prove to be inefficient and will have little effect on D&I in Pinterest. Pinterest's collectivism and ineffective communication, coupled with its publicized lack of diversity, which may limit executive perspectives, created a culture of conformity, which seemingly follows Etch's line experiment. Its external horizontal and vertical communication has been rendered inefficient, and external communication such as slogans seem tone deaf as well.
Ben Silverman has placed a heavy emphasis on creating employee welfare and an enjoyable work environment. However, a prevalent discord lies within the leadership model that Pinterest takes on. Pinterest incorporates a form of hybrid leadership. The first component of this leadership model primarily employs laissez-faire, where employees are trusted with the delegation of their work. But has the leadership model been functional without any cracks? While Pinterest has attempted to employ this theoretical leadership, leaders often end up practicing passive management by exception. In one such instance, a former employee stated that Pinterest was working with Coca-Cola on an advertising campaign. Pinterest's creative team would present pitch decks and employees would praise the project. However, because of the nicety and the autonomy delegated to these employees, it was often translated into complete inefficiency. And as a result, the team had to constantly email changes after the meeting, and the project was in a no different stage than when the contractor had started 6 months earlier. So although this model has allowed employees to be relaxed and share propositional ideas regarding their delegations, top management habitually attempts to create a non-confrontational culture. Employees fear potentially creating conflict by expressing differing opinions and being frowned upon by management. Aside from being timely and efficient, there lies further repression from passive corrective measures by the management, with the employee testifying that their manager wanted them to choose their words carefully, as well as another employee being labeled insubordinate and being let go after offering constructive criticism in the meeting. Employees lack candor and are forced to walk on eggshells. Continual monitoring of deviation from socially accepted norms by Silverman's managers causes employees to abdicate responsibility and autonomy, worsening the pre-existing diesel-weighted decision culture. Despite being the transformational leader he is, his vision has not been translated through the company's hierarchy.
Currently, one of the major problems in Pinterest is the negligence in the hiring of employees. The overly friendly leadership style adopted by Silverman has resulted in poor hiring protocols in Pinterest. As of this year, Pinterest is dominated by whites and Asians, with Black employees forming a minority of a mere 4% of the workforce. Defenseless and without a voice, these minorities are afraid of raising their concerns out of fear of a potential retaliation from their managers. As they cannot afford to risk losing their jobs, many of them have instead chosen to suffer in silence. After the media shed light on these issues, Pinterest is aware of these problems and Silverman responded. They started new initiatives, such as hiring their first D&I head, which will report directly to Silverman, and started an unconscious bias training workshop to encourage receptivity among employees. Additionally, they even publicized their hiring goals to regain public trust in Pinterest. However, Pinterest's recruitment system still remains flawed. With his overly friendly leadership style, Silverman continues to bestow executives in his inner circle from any consequences, despite multiple complaints, instead of addressing the issue that lies with them. Hence, despite Silverman implementing measures to prevent unfairness and racism, his overly friendly, passive leadership style has instead led to their ineffectiveness and worsening of the situation. Ultimately, constructive criticism and having a diverse employee pool is necessary for Pinterest to continue growing. Despite the transformational leader he is and a person of idolized influence, Silverman's vision for the company is not fully translated down to all employees. As a result, the core problems in Pinterest lies deep within the management of the company, and perhaps a restructuring of leadership style is required to solve these problems in Pinterest.
After gaining a deeper understanding of the root cause of the problems faced by Pinterest, let's take a look at how Pinterest can re-engineer their processes. Firstly, employees holding managerial positions should lead by example. With their significant positional power, the incorporation of transformational leadership will directly impact employees by enabling them and increasing their self-efficacy. Idealized influence will help managers be seen as role models. Individualized consideration will strengthen organizational citizenship behavior, and intellectual stimulation will encourage innovation. Overall, employees will be more compelled to follow their leader's path to improve organizational and strategic efficiency. Additionally, given that leaders have a direct impact on other employees, they should be more aware of the symbols they create. Managers should consciously change their interactions with subordinates to embody efficient communication, collaborative conflict resolution, and acceptance of diversity. This helps create stories supporting the new values, which will be shared and replace old ones. This sends an important message to employees of the cultural norms that are changing for the better. Pinterest can also organize team building sessions, which serve as a material symbol artifact of an inclusive culture. In addition to diversity hiring, Pinterest can screen deep-level diversity traits of employees and gather those with different results. These sessions help employees understand and embrace each other's differing backgrounds, as well as broaden their perspectives on diversity. This reduces workplace conflicts due to cultural clashes, encourages idea sharing, and helps employees to avoid potential workplace discrimination. Having discussed our suggestions, what then are their implications? After conducting Lewin's force field analysis of the re-engineered processes, we can see that the driving forces heavily outweigh the restraining forces. This is because brand image, efficiency, feedback systems, increased business opportunities, and heightened engagement have a significantly larger weight and impact than the short-term implications. In addition, losing its unique selling point of being the nicest company is a menial concern compared to improving the decelerated decision culture. Hence, organizational change via our suggestions is appropriate to help Pinterest stay afloat in the technological industry. With this in mind, let us now move into what we can learn from Pinterest.
So what exactly can we take away from Pinterest? My group has broken this down into two categories. Firstly, leadership. An organization's culture is heavily affected by the type and effectiveness of leadership present. With this, a leader has to be able to provide direction and at the same time enforce and align his employees, especially his management team, to his beliefs and goals. Only then will they be present throughout the layers of workplace hierarchy and have clear benefits to the organization. On the other hand, ignorance and disbelief in them will result in various conflicts and problems arising, hampering both productivity and performance, as with Pinterest. Thus, it is key for leaders to ensure that a more authoritative and transformational approach is taken to effectively convey their goals and influence employees with their beliefs. Next, organizational culture. A sense of belonging is crucial to the success of any employee, allowing for better communication and cohesiveness, in turn resulting in improved productivity. This is achieved by having sufficient diversity and inclusion within the workplace, ensuring fairness and steering clear of discrimination. Overall, the creation of a comfortable environment and empowering employees would breed positive sentiments amongst them, helping them find more meaning in their jobs. This acts as a form of motivation, which translates into increased work performance and an important sense of belonging. In addition, it should be ensured that problems are solved wholeheartedly to address any issues should they arise. To make the necessary improvements, Pinterest can adopt the structure of Lewin's three-stage change model. With the realization of practices that harm the company and working towards fixing them, Pinterest will have taken on the first stage of unfreezing. The second stage of change is embarked on with the implementation of measures that my group has suggested. Finally, the last stage of refreezing. It locks such practices and processes as the new norm in Pinterest, ensuring that the company sticks to its new developments, permanently moving away from old habits and problems faced. With that, my group has come to the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Leadership. Leaders often end up practicing passive management by exception as a form of contingent response. I'm so fucking tilted. I'm so fucking tilted.